So in the studio today, we've got the new MSI Claw A8. Now this is the Ryzen Z2 Extreme version, so we're looking forward to testing this one out. Now we have already done a video on the Intel Claw A8 AI, which is probably my favourite handheld so far this year. Now this, like the Intel version, is an 8-inch handheld, comes in either white or green. I've got the white version here. Now this is the new Z2 Extreme chip, like we've got in the Xbox Ally X that's just been released, and the Legion Go 2. Now we've got the Legion Go 2 on order, so that will be here soon, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to go watch a video for that one. And the Ally X, which we're probably not going to be getting in, is a Z2 Extreme, again, just a little bit cheaper than this, but with a 7-inch screen. Now personally, having used all of these consoles for quite a while now, I like 8-inch and above for my handhelds, but again, that is personal preference. So let's start unboxing, and I'll talk you through the specs as we go. So, this is the Polar White, as I mentioned. It has 24 gigabytes of 8,000 mega transfers RAM. What's this? Comes in a little box to protect it, which I believe is going to make a fantastic stand. Fortunately, I have my own already. So here we go, the Polar White version here. This looks like the amazing quality stand, and underneath, 65-watt USB-C charger, and a user manual. That is literally it. So very much like the Intel version. So you're not going to get a nice case like you get with the Legion Go. And considering this comes in at £850 in the UK for the Z2 Extreme, that's a bit of a shame. Even the Steam Deck at like half the price came with a case. Now, this has got an 8-inch IPS screen, so it isn't OLED, but it's 500 nits of brightness, and it's 120 Hertz VRR, so it's going to be a great gaming screen. Now, I've absolutely loved gaming on the Intel version, so I'm looking forward to seeing how well this one does. Now, this is slightly cheaper, about £50 cheaper in the UK than the 8AI Intel version, but it is slightly more expensive than that Xbox Ally X with the 7-inch screen, but it is again much cheaper than the Legion Go 2, which we will be looking at soon. So here we go with the Polar White. Now, straight away, picking this up, it doesn't feel as high quality as the 8AI. Now, that's a real shame. The 8AI has nice sort of curved, more ergonomic feel to it. This new A8 has got very sharp lines, so it doesn't feel quite as comfortable in your hands, and it feels deeper. Let's have a look at the back. Than, as you can see, it's a lot more ergonomic on the 8AI. Now we do get the Hall effect pads, which is fantastic, and we get the same lit buttons and lights around the actual analog sticks, and the D-pad is almost identical to the 8AI. We've also got the buttons on the front, which can take you to your overlay and your M center. We've got the 2 rear buttons, as well as the triggers. You can't lock those triggers, sadly, but they feel very good. And then the top buttons are nice and clicky. Along the top here, we've got the power button with a built-in fingerprint reader, 2 USB 4 ports, a micro SD card reader, a headset jack, and volume rockers. Then underneath there, you can see we've got the vents pushing all that heat out the back. And on the back there, that's our intake vents and our MSI logo. Underneath, just the serial number, nothing else, and nothing on either side. So overall, it's very much like the 8AI. I'm really liking the screen size, but it is certainly not as nice, not as pleasing in your hands as this 8AI. That is probably one of my favourite handhelds at the moment. You can see as well on the front here, we've got the 2 2-watt front-facing speakers. We'll test those in a little while. Now, I'm going to quickly fire this up and set it up. I'm not going to make you sit through the 10 hours of Windows updates, but we will come back in a second when everything is set up. Right, so we're now coming back and we're all set up. We've done all the Windows updates and the Windows setup. We've done the M Center from MSI. It took me ages, as it always does with Windows handhelds. And I think this is an area where Microsoft really needs to be improving things. When you buy a new computer, I hate waiting about 2 hours just setting the damn thing up. But just to quickly show you, fingerprint reader on the top, and I'm straight in. So that is really responsive. I mean, to power it on, it seems to read my fingerprint at the same time. Now, as always, we do get this lovely M Center, plus you get the Windows overlay, which I really like. This fits in with the Xbox Game Bar sort of overlay, and I really like that, the same as we had on the 8AI. That works really well once Windows is up to date. Now I'm going to try this soon with the Windows handheld optimized operating system, but I believe that's quite buggy, so I will be coming back with that one soon. We will be also upgrading. It comes with a 1TB Gen 4 80mm SSD, so we're going to be chucking a 4TB in here soon because my games library is huge. So there we go. The M Center button is the bottom left, and the overlay button is the bottom right. You can see it is very responsive, and I like this overlay where you can adjust your sound, your brightness, and a load of the sort of usual day-to-day features that you're going to need. Your settings, your power. You can change the actual profile, so you can do it in here, or you can do it in the M Center. Now, when you first load this up out of the box, it comes down the standard AI engine mode. We also have the endurance mode for obviously longer battery life but less performance. And in the manual, you can see here, we can fully adjust the actual wattage from 13 watts all the way up to 35 for the sort of the long boost. And you can do some short boosts all the way up to 48 watts. We also have an auto fan speed and an advanced fan speed. In the advanced, we can click this and we can actually change the fans individually, and you can put your own fan curve in. Personally, so far, have been using it just on the auto mode, and so far it's been sounding great, and it hasn't got that horrible high-pitched whiny mode that we had with the original Legion Go. So you can see here the lights have come up around the actual Hall Effect analog sticks, and the buttons are lit up, but that is really quite faint. So let's have a quick look at the actual lighting. So if I look in the Mystic lights, we can change the lighting on these, but it does appear that these buttons are really quite dim, especially in this studio. If you're in a dark room, that does look quite nice though. You've got usual A, B, X, Y here that are lit up. Now, as you can see at the moment, it's set to rainbow, but I can just change that to another setting if I wish very quickly. But I think the rainbow looks fantastic with this polar white. So here we can see the 1920 by 1200 display. It's 8 inches, which is fantastic. I think this is a great size. It's not too heavy to hold, but you can see we've got 120 Hertz. 1200p is a great resolution you can actually run games at, and it still looks great on a sort of 8-inch display like this. Now I am going to just quickly weigh it so you can see how heavy this is. So that's coming in at 765 grams, so under a kilogram for a sort of largest 8-inch tablet, so it is very comfortable to hold. And obviously they're giving you an 80 watt-hour battery in here, so I'm hoping in the endurance mode we should get some good battery life, but we will be coming back with that later. Right, so I'm going to quickly set up over on my desk over there, and we're going to start running some games, just seeing how well it actually performs. Okay, so we're going to start off with doing just a little bit of games testing to see how well the controls perform, how it feels and how it sounds with these front-facing speakers. Do love the fact that with the Claw you do get these front-facing speakers because that really helps when you're using the handheld right in front of you. I'm just going to start off with a bit of Street Fighter Ultra. Now, I am going to make sure we try a couple of different profiles. I've got a little overlay on the screen here. Hopefully you can see that. So you can see here, I can go into my quick menus. I've got it on the AI mode for the moment, which is sort of your mid sort of level. Now, one of the things I do like is the fact that we have 2 USB 4 ports on the top. So I've got my 4TB games library plugged in here. I've also got my 100 watt Ugreen charger on the desk there, which I use to charge all my handhelds that are on the desk. Really handy because I can charge multiple at the same time, and I do love that because I have a lot of testing that I'm doing at the moment with these handhelds. In fact though, for this test, let's just pop it onto battery, see how we perform. So first things first, these front-facing speakers sound really good.
Another international fighting tournament.
This is 50% volume. They're punchy, the speech sounds nice and clear, the music in the game has been fantastic. So good job there, MSI. Decent speakers. All right, let's try this D-pad. Now, although this is quite angular and quite sharp, it's not as comfortable as the A8i. I'm still really getting to grips with it. It's nice and solid in your hand. And having that deeper back area is nice to grip, especially when you drop your hands down to use the D-pad. And I have been enjoying that. All right, here we go. So far, the D-pad has been pretty impressive. This isn't the most comfortable D-pad I've used, but it's been pretty accurate. I'm managing to pull off some of the Street Fighter combos that I normally use without any issues. Buttons are nice and responsive. Triggers feel good. Overall, as a handheld, it's feeling really nice. There we go, no problem with the combos. Just come out of that one. So, straight away, fighting game, no issues. Loving the speakers. Fan noise is really impressive as well. This is the AI mode, so using sort of a mid-level, apparently about 11 watts APU power, 23 watts overall, and it's not even loud. I can hardly hear it over the speakers. Let's just turn them down. It's, you know, you literally are not hearing these at all. Great frames per second, although I have to be honest, not a massive boost over the Z1 Extreme, which is a bit of a shame, really. I was hoping, especially with after the 8AI with that amazing Intel chip, this Z2 Extreme is going to be an Intel killer, but in all honesty, I still think the performance crown goes to that Intel mode, but we will do a comparison video very soon. Right, so let's just quickly come out of this game. We'll fire up another one. So far, fighting games, very impressed. I'm going to quickly just fire up a racing game now. Now, when you're in desktop mode as well, the actual left analog stick does move your mouse cursor around, which is quite nice. And my D-pad will just scroll through my games in Steam. Okay, so we're now going into Wreckfest. Again, not the most demanding game, but this is just to see how well this actual handheld plays, because that is obviously the priority of a handheld. Performance doesn't mean anything if it's a really uncomfortable and horrible experience. Didn't talk about the screen, but obviously this is a 500 nit panel, so it gets bright enough, but very glossy, as you can see. And it is 1280 by 800, so a great resolution. You can run native with most games with this APU, and it is variable refresh rate, so you're not going to get any of that nasty sort of hitching and stuttering that you can get with non-VRR screens. So this is a great gaming panel. I know a lot of people are complaining that it's not OLED, but we will be looking at the OLED on the Legion Go 2 soon, but that is a lot more expensive, but we'll make sure we sort of put the two head to head to see which is more worthwhile. So here we go. Let's put the speakers up a little bit so you can hear the speakers again. All right, so using the analog sticks, fantastic so far. As you can see here, holding this 20 odd watts on the APU without any issues at all. Speakers sound fantastic. I can't even hear the fan noise at all over the speakers. Haptics are feeling nice as well as I'm getting hit and crashing. Wow, you really feel that in your hands. So this is 15. Let's just whack these speakers up a little bit more. They get really loud. Hopefully that's coming through on my mic. This is 100%. This is incredibly loud. I have to turn that down, actually. There we go, back to 40%. Really good speakers. No problems there at all. Plus you've got that headset jack on the top if you want to use headphones. This is so far a great gaming experience. So I'm going to use my overlay now, and I'm going to just switch this over to endurance mode, which is obviously a lot less power, which will give you more battery life, and we'll just check battery life in a little while. But as you can see, it's now dropping us down to about 14 watts on the APU, which should give us a few hours of use. If you are with that 80 watt hour battery, if you're using this endurance mode, nothing like going the wrong way. Okay, just want to quickly just switch it to max power. This is on battery as well. This is 35 watts. So you can see here it's actually boosting to 40, it will actually boost up to 47, but let's see how it holds. And this is on battery. This will kill your battery in less than 2 hours. So we're down to 40 watts now. See, the total power of the system is 60 watts, so you're probably looking at about an hour and a half. This is max brightness, max performance. So again, not too bad, really. Seems to be sitting at about 39 watts. And again, let me just, I can't even hear the fans over this. Let me just wipe this down. So here's the fans. Now, my testing so far, the actual endurance mode, fan noise was less than 30 decibels. That's the lowest my reader could actually pick up. I was getting 34 decibels on the AI and 40 decibels in this performance mode that we hear now. This has probably been one of the more quiet handhelds that I've used, and the fan isn't whiny or annoying either, so just a little whoosh in the background. So overall, really impressed. So now that we've seen how well it can play, let's just quickly talk about performance. Now, first of all, CPU performance. Obviously, it's a handheld. I wasn't expecting massive, drastic improvement in performing from the Z1 Extreme to the Z2 Extreme, but it does have some pretty good single-threaded performance, and multi-core is a pretty nice boost over the Z1 Extreme. The Geekbench 6 benchmarks we ran and all 3 profiles performed very well. Now, the AI mode is probably the one that you'll probably be running in most of the time at about 20 watts, and that is a really good all-round profile. But moving over to the GPU side of things, and this is where I was a little bit disappointed. Now, don't get me wrong, all the games I've played runs really well at this 800p resolution, but this Z2 Extreme is not a massive step up from that Z1 Extreme. Now, running Time Spy on all the 3 profiles, we've got a good range of scores, but when we run it in the maxed mode at about 39 to 40 watts through that maxed mode, although the scores were okay, it wasn't a big boost over the Z1 Extreme that it's replaced, and it's nowhere near as close as the graphics score on the 8AI with the Intel chip. Now, when I bought that 8AI back in February, I was impressed with those scores, but I was expecting it to be beaten by the Z2 Extreme when it came out. So hey, anybody that bought the 8AI a while ago, I hope you've been enjoying it, because I think you've got a bit of a bargain compared to this Z2 Extreme. Now, running through Cyberpunk on the Steam Deck profile, on all 3 of these actual inbuilt profiles, all were playable. The endurance mode did drop down to sort of mid-20 frames per second, so I would certainly knock it up to that mid-range. But obviously that does come with a lot less power draw in the endurance. If you're running lighter titles and you want more battery life, it is a great option to have. Now let's talk about battery, and I'm starting off with gaming on battery in each of the 3 modes. Now I ran Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I had this at 50% brightness. Now the endurance mode used 29 watts. Now that gives you well over 2.5 hours of battery life before you're going to need to plug in, so that's really impressive. Now the AI mode, that used 37 watts, which means you're getting just over 2 hours. Now the performance mode, this takes 61 watts in total power draw, so you're talking about an hour and a half before you're going to need to juice up again. So overall, not too bad, and that's if you're running 3D demanding games. If you're running light titles, you're going to get a lot longer on there. Now the desktop use was just 8 watts for the total power draw of the entire system, so it's going to give you about 10 hours of battery life, just probably surfing the web. And YouTube video playback was about 10 watts, so about 8 hours of battery life. So overall, pretty good in performance with this 80 watt hour battery. So I have to say, with my short time with this Claw A8, I have been impressed. But so I should be, because the price tag is £850 in the UK. Now that is less than the Legion Go 2, which comes in at £1,300, but does have that OLED screen, and we will be reviewing that one very soon. But that is £50 more than the Xbox Ally X, which I know everybody is really interested in buying. But I have to be honest, having used the original Ally with that 7-inch screen, once you've moved up to an 8-inch, it just feels so much easier, especially if you are in Windows. Now, once you're in game, I don't mind really the difference between that 8-inch and that 7-inch, but when you're trying to do anything with the actual screen itself, that 7-inch on the Ally is absolutely tiny, and I struggled. But with this machine, with this much bigger 8-inch screen, I really do prefer it, especially as well if I'm sort of watching sort of videos or doing anything else on the device. But overall, I would much rather pay that £50 extra for this model for that larger screen and the Hall effect controllers over that Xbox Ally X. But that's me. Would you consider the Xbox Ally X for that new user interface and that smaller screen for that £50 saving? Let me know down below. Would love to hear your thoughts. I also think this is a great option over the Legion Go 2, because that Legion Go 2 price tag is quite insane. But I do expect those prices to drop very soon, because these are really expensive devices. Now overall, with this device, as I say, I initially wasn't overly impressed with the ergonomics, but having used it for gaming, this sort of lip on the back has been really useful. Especially if I'm using the D-pad and I drop my hands down a bit, you've got something to really grip hold of, so I have actually enjoyed that. I also love the speakers. I really like having the 2 USB 4s on the top. It means I can plug in my power adapter and my external hard drive without having to worry about sort of the dock or anything else to get it going. So overall, I have been really impressed with this Claw A8. It's an excellent device, but 2 main gripes. Firstly, the price, £850. These things are seriously creeping up into that laptop territory. And secondly, I was expecting a little bit more from that Z2 Extreme. This has been quite a while before we've had this Z2 Extreme over the Z1 Extreme. I thought we'd get a really nice bump, but it really is only just a few frames per second. But if you haven't got a Z1 Extreme and you're looking for a device, I certainly think this is one to consider. Now, as I mentioned, we have got the Legion Go 2 coming in, so that video will be coming soon, and we're going to be doing a fair bit more on these handhelds, so please consider subscribing if you found this video useful. And lastly, thanks for watching.